And good afternoon. Today is Tuesday, October 4th. It is 1 p.m., and we are continuing our conversations with the candidates. If you're just tuning in, we are dedicating this week to members who are running in Newport, candidates who are running in Newport, Newport School Committee, as well as Newport City Council. Next week is Middletown, and then the following week is Portsmouth. We kind of move up the island as the month goes along. Spread in between, we have candidates that are running for Senate, 11, 12, 13 on the island, as well as gubernatorial, Secretary of State, Attorney General. Lots of interviews. You can find our full schedule on whatsupnuke.com. No stranger to our interviews or Newport School Committee is Sandra Flowers. And Sandra, how are you?
Very well, thank you.
Here is the trick question of the day. I asked Becky Boland this morning.
Mm-hmm.
And she said she joined at the same time as you. How long have you been on school committee?
We're in our 14th year.
She was right.
Yes.
A point for her.
Yes, we're finishing up our 7th term because we only have 2-year terms. So
it's interesting question, not to get on too much of a side rail here. I guess everybody's terms are 2, but would it help at all if they were ever extended to maybe 4? Or
I really don't know. A lot of folks will say, soon to get in, you have to start running again. But if running means you have to go out and get into people's faces and, you put out your signs, that's something else. I think we should always be on our toes, so to speak. Okay. And understand why we're doing what we're doing, regardless of which governing body you're on.
So you've been at this a while. Why back in June did you throw your name back in? What energizes you for year 15, year 16?
I think so many things are going on. We just opened up the addition to Pell Elementary School. And of course, there's just tremendous amount of work being put in for the new Rogers High School, all of that planning. But besides the bricks and mortar, it's so much attention has to be put to getting our youngsters back better than where they were pre-pandemic. That we have to put a lot of work into getting all of our students up to where they should be and beyond. And keeping in mind that I was a Newport public school teacher for 30 years, I feel a responsibility to use my experience and expertise in this area.
And, that's a good reminder for me to ask you, for some people, they might have just moved to Newport. They might be a military family. They might be just turning the age to vote. Remind us or reintroduce us, because there are some people out there who might not know who you are.
Oh, well, thank you. Born and raised in Newport and lived here all my life. I do get off the island occasionally. We always say we had to get our passports dusted off. And I'm always wanted to be a teacher. I went to the public elementary and then junior high school. I did go to the private Catholic high school that was here then for girls, St. Catherine Academy. I would have been in one of the first classes at the, quote, new Rogers High School. It was jam-packed. They were going on double sessions right away. And you hear people today say, well, why don't we have, we're still that filled to capacity? Because Middletown, Portsmouth, Tiverton, they all built their own high schools. So it was, in a sense, an area high school way back then. And my parents felt that I would do as well, if not even better, in a smaller school. And St. Catherine, again, I'm glad I went there. I also graduated a couple of times now from Salve Regina university. First, it was the college. I went to Salve and got my bachelor's degree. And in 2006, I received my PhD there. Again, I get off the island. I got my master's degree at Rhode Island College. But even though this might sound insular, I certainly have an awareness of the world. So that's my experience, and I'm active in a number of civic activities too.
Excellent. It's been a big couple of years for Newport School Committee. I was thinking about it earlier this morning. The last election, we had the Pell expansion, the Rogers construction. This one, we had school regionalization. Some big projects, some big questions. I'll joke around again. Will you commit to this is the last one for a while?
Election.
Will you commit to this is the last big project that's going to end up on a ballot for a while?
You never know.
I know.
What's going to happen? I mean, we have the 3 schools, and like people say 4 because we have career and tech, and Becky may have mentioned, I don't know, but the career and tech classes are going to be integrated into the general Rogers High School area, and it's working well. I mean, for the size of the geographical size of the city, I don't know how many larger projects we could have in terms of the schools, but just keep improving and improving. But one never knows. One never knows.
One does never know, and for people can view their sample ballot now anywhere in Rhode Island, particularly here in Newport. Vote.ri.gov. You put in your address, and you can find your polling place. You can see your questions. There are 10 questions. I will say this during every interview. You should go on and read it beforehand, because when you flip over that ballot, I think there's going to be a lot of people that are going to be surprised by having to answer 10 questions. But the one that is getting a lot of attention is question number 5, right there in the middle, which authorizes the establishment of a regional school district. And, where are you on this?
I am still, in all honesty, still looking at all sides of this particular issue, because the school committees sort of were invited in a little late in the story. A lot of the ground laying came in with the council members, with the group, but these city and town managers, of course, were tasked with quite a bit in addition to their daily work. And as I've said in another venue, a positive of this is financial. And that's probably why our neighbors really want to get into this, because the promise, if you will, of an 80% reimbursement is quite attractive. But my question, the question of some of my colleagues, is where is that going to go? Is it going to go to improve and support the educational programs and practices for our young people? Is it going to be to pay back the debt? Is it going to go into a general fund that could stay there? And it's the answers seem to change periodically.
And it's interesting because voting starts in 2 weeks, in person on October 19th. And it seems like everybody I've spoken with still has a lot of questions. And I don't remember a ballot measure having so many questions still out there. Just days until people start voting.
I would suggest, if at all possible for folks, that they find out where they can see the full bill that the General Assembly is allowing, going through it and marking. And I was an English major, so I tend to take words apart. And you look at something and you say, this is a little ambiguous to me, and I do want to study it more, but I understand it's hard to say, well, we want guarantees. There's not too many things in life are guaranteed, but what is really sure? And what is the motivation of each community for going ahead on this? And no matter what, we're going ahead with Rogers as with the plan, and they're doing very well on that. And that school building committee is just phenomenal with what they've been doing. But again, the concept of regionalization is fine, but we have to look at some of the reasons for this particular move.
Can you find more reasons to approve it or more reasons to reject it right now?
I think it's pretty balanced at this point.
What's going to sway your?
I'm not trying to evade an answer, because I really am saying, how am I going to vote? Is it mentally tossing that coin and saying, I want one way or the other? What is going to be best for the people, especially our young people in the city of Newport? That's why I'm on the school committee.
What's going to sway you in the next 2 weeks, 4 weeks? What could happen, or what information, or is there anything that you're still digging for that maybe people can?
Yeah, I want to know from the people who are directly involved, the financial folks in our city, in Newport, and the administrative body, to say exactly how is this budget going to work? Is it going to save us significant amounts of money, and at the same time providing significant improvement and opportunities for our students and our personnel also? Because some are saying, what's going to happen to us? How are contracts going to work with the certified and non-certified folks? These are a lot of questions that some of the answers have been, well, that will be worked out later on. And I don't want to wait for later on. I want to know that maybe if we had a couple of years to really plot this out and really work this out, it would be good. Who's going to establish what curriculum? School committees don't write curriculum. I've been there, done that. I don't need that. But I know what's involved. So while there are a lot of commonalities between the two communities, there are a lot of differences politically. And I don't mean Democrat, Republican. I don't mean that. But sometimes, but just the way the governance of the two communities, how they differ from each other.
Yeah, this is a whole new world where, last time with the Rogers and Pell, you had school committee, you had other people coming out and pushing for it. And I just feel like so many people don't know what to do right now. And I'm trying to help them get there, but I also don't know which way to go.
Because it really, like I say, we became involved, if you will, or informed a little late in the game. And I'm not the only one that says that. Nothing, because it was a rumor at first for some of us. They said, gee, do you know that who are they? They're talking about possibly regionalizing. Oh, really? And I'll bring it up. A few years ago, it was, we don't want to deal with you. Granted, it was only a few people who said it, but they were the folks who were on the dais. They were the ones who had the stage.
It approves. It's a holy world where you're in charge. Where would you like to see the cost savings go, if there are any?
Just generally speaking, in the schools.
Yeah. So the
cost savings.
Yeah.
Certainly not at the expense of education or safety or anything like that. Cost savings, something that probably is essentially in place. Purchasing. There are every year we approve these expenditures for heating and electricity and things of that sort. But we have an excellent business manager who, matter of fact, after this, I have a Zoom finance subcommittee meeting. We have the people who know how to get the best bang for the buck, so to speak. And we see everything. Keeping up repairs, that's a way to save money. Why do we have to do so much, say, with the new Rogers, with going to be the old and new Rogers High School? For people who don't know, local people still call the present high school the new Rogers because it used to be there where Thompson is now. But if we, or if the people who are in charge of the money had really kept maintenance in the forefront instead of, well, we'll get to it, because you got to pay the other bills. You have to pay the teachers. You have to pay the other personnel. I think saving is just wise spending, and seeing that you get your money's worth too with whatever you do.
And obviously, no matter which way this question 5 goes, you get reelected. What are some of your priorities will change? I know if question 5 passes or doesn't pass. Some of your priorities, some of the things you hope to accomplish within another 2 years.
I think in the next few years we have to pay additional attention to. They use the SEL, social emotional learning, which really boils down to the mental health of our young people and their families. And keeping in mind, I have a lot of years of experience. I'm still a teacher. I just don't have a classroom now because I retired. But training the personnel, and many of whom are very, very well trained, in recognizing the flags of the mental problems with youngsters, emotional problems. I said this probably, good Lord, probably about 40 some years ago. You have to understand some of the baggage that kids carry every day, and I don't mean their backpacks, because so many of them, and I don't care where they live, this is not just one part of town, it's all over, it's probably all over the world at this stage, that many youngsters really don't know what they're going to find when they get home. And this is why our school system provides so many supports for them, before school, after school, weekends, all during the pandemic, making sure that there was food available, making sure there were hotspots so they could get online, while everyone was learning this Zoom technique. So we have to understand that so many youngsters have difficulties that they deal with, and their parents and caretakers too, because without that, it's pretty hard to learn. The kiddie's not going to care about long division and parts of speech if he or she doesn't feel comfortable at home. And quite often, the teachers and the other people in the schools are the main supports for these kids' well-being. It's hard to admit, but that's the thing that is too. Yeah,
that can certainly be a challenge. And just wondering what's the biggest challenge facing Newport School Committee recently or in the near future?
Besides all this other things, keeping the budget balanced, getting the message out to the citizens, voters, everyone else, newcomers, of what's going on every day in school. That these are some of the burdens that the kids and their teachers have to bear. Also, looking at all of the positive things that are happening, the programs that are in place, the changes in curriculum that many people will, those people will say, oh, it's new math, it's this, that. No, it's maybe a different way of teaching something, that it's high quality curricula being brought in. You have some folks might say, oh, why do you have to have new books, or why do you have to have different kinds of math? Because it's research based, it's data driven. These are some of the jargon that we use, but I firmly believe you have to look at what is successful and make sure it's right here in the city of Newport. And we have some really tremendous teachers and administrators. They know their stuff. And we, the committee, have to listen to them. We can hear, but are we listening? And that's the whole point too. And that if we can we do get into the schools, we visit and really witness what is going on. And also we have to understand, as do the people in town who might not have young people in their family right now. You have to understand that we teach every child of every ability level. And probably each one of us, we have real strengths on academically and otherwise. And each one of us has some area that we really have to work on. At the same time, we have to provide them with the arts. They talk about the STEM and STEAM education. Yeah, all of that has to all be integrated into the curriculum. So I think one of our main concerns should be not just teaching the kids, but educating the general public. What's going on?
Well, speaking of educating, you could put a note in every resident of Newport's pocket. What's one thing you wish everybody knew about Newport School Committee or Newport Public Schools?
Oh, wow. Now we could send home all these notes or get them out to people. We want every person, I'm not even saying students now, every person to reach and exceed their potential. And what your potential would be in one area, mine would be another, that we want every person who comes into our classes to have the opportunities to find the career pathways, the learning pathways, the interests. It's a big chore, but that the people in town have to learn what's going on and to be supportive of this. Tax-wise, yeah, but moral support, encouraging. We want parents to become involved in their children's schooling. Doesn't mean you sit down and do the work for the youngster. I think some people feel that, but just to be on the same wavelength with the teachers too. But I think to get people in town to really become familiar with what is really going on in the schools. Rumors, forget about it. It's, one person might have an issue, with a teacher or whatever, but don't make it everyone's problem.
Yeah, I remember from last election with the big Rogers vote on the ballot. There was a lot of things that came about at scores and conditions of the school. And one of the things that sticks with me to this day is all the negativity and what it must have done to everybody in those buildings. I think one way that we could support school committee, which is a thankless job, as most of these roles are, as well as the school, is we need to, it's okay to recognize the negatives, but we need to celebrate the positives more.
Yeah, we say that all the time. That's it. Because I mean, I know I have a good memory. I've been out for 27 years now from teaching actively in the classroom. But if we could publicize more those success stories, not just the list of colleges that the kids have been accepted into, they have been, they are. Or on the flip side, grumbling about those standardized test scores. Yeah, we have to have the standardized test. You need a baseline.
Yeah.
That's one test, one set of tests in a few days. And they say some people don't test well. Some people test very well in that kind of a testing. But maybe some of the things they find more difficult to get it across. It's like interviews. I mean, some people just fall apart with an interview, but they're darn good when they're on the job, whatever the job is.
Yeah, and that's what we try. I really just try to use this platform and this opportunity to present, personalities and people and let you know what they care about and what they're passionate about. And, we're not going to get to every question. We're not going to get every answer, but people should know more about you by the end of it.
Yeah, because I mean, I used to do that. I taught 5th grade mostly. I had primary grades for 5 years, but I had mostly 5th grade. And I would even say when I was doing part-time at Salve Regina in the education department, if you can get up in front of your class and you'll survive. No one ever, I had one nearly pass out one day, but faint one day. And I said, that's all right, sit down, But if you can get up and be prepared, of course, and give your book report, act out a character, give a presentation, go to the board and show us how you did your math problem. If you can do that, you're going to be fine no matter what. And I've had some youngsters that if we put on a performance, try to get them off the stage, they were great. And I can tell you the success, the kids who have gone on to be successful, they've been in the military, police, firefighters, teachers. I mean, some nights we're sitting and there's a pretty good crowd for the school committee meetings. And I can say to some of the ones, I taught that one, whole families. Matter of fact, one of my very first students retired a couple of years ago as principal at the middle school. I said, when your former students are retiring, you say, wow, I've been around a while. But that's the thing. We have to really keep promoting this. And it used to say, can we have like a feature in the local press? But do people read the paper? This sort of a thing, maybe. We have to use the new technology.
Yes.
That's it. And we have a group of, people of a certain age, and I can say that because I am of that certain age. Oh no, I don't want to do this. No, I don't want. I want to see. I want that paper in my hand. But somehow or other we have to get it out and invite people back into the schools to see what's going on. Now that we are hopefully in a healthier environment, more of that can be done. But and one more thing to keep in mind is the change. This change. The other departments in a municipality, things are pretty regular. They know what to expect. In the schools, they're a different animal. It's not changing from month to month. Sometimes it's week to week.
Yeah.
And the administrators will tell you that too. So if you don't have a flexible outlook to things, stay away from education. And school committee members have to be very flexible and very willing to listen well and ask the right questions.
Two things here. Just a reminder for those who might be tuning in for the first time. We have Superintendent Colleen Burns-Germain join us on the last Wednesday of every month. So if you want to insight into what's happening at school, she joins us for 30 minutes at 1 or 1:30 p.m. on the last Wednesday of every month. And she is often celebrating the good things happening at school.
Yes.
The second thing is being flexible. It's kind of a interesting time for school committee because there's 8 people running for 7 seats. But Chairman Ray Gomes is retiring, stepping down.
Yes.
And you got some changes in leadership coming.
True.
Yeah.
I'm totally clueless on that. I haven't really heard anything, but I think we just want to take one step at a time and see what's going on.
That's it. You get reelected. What do you hope to, 2 years from now, what do you hope was accomplished? What do you hope, where do you find success at the end of a term or when you're deciding on a next term? How do you know you've done a good job?
I think the reaction of people. I think people who either attend meetings, school committee meetings, and we get a turnout sometimes, but now with the Zoom, it's great. Oh, yeah, I watched you, and that sort of thing. And when they say, you get a response from things that you've said.
Yeah.
And if you have a handle on what's going on, or if you're going to ask me a question that I can't answer, I will say, I'll find out for you. I know who to ask. Yeah. I'll give you the number if you want to call directly. And that has to be it. You don't promise people things. You promise that you will do your best and you'll get that answer that they need.
And it sounds like, you're continuing this journey because the job is not quite done yet.
Oh, yeah. I probably never will be done,
Yeah.
But I'll probably know when to hand it on to someone else. But right now, let's just take care of now.
Sandra, is there anything that we did not touch on that you would like to?
Oh, I think you covered things pretty well. I mean, let's see what standardized tests, regionalization.
I know, all the hit songs, yeah.
That's it, and working as a committee that we're not in lockstep, but we know how to reach consensus. And that's the difference from just agreeing on everything. It's reaching consensus. What can you live with? And understanding that your superintendent and her administrative team, they're the experts in that field. That's the important thing, too.
Well, we wish you voting starts in 2 weeks from tomorrow.
Oh, yes, yeah.
Everybody should go to vote.ri.gov. You can find your sample ballot for Newport. You can see the 10 questions on the back. Regionalization is 5. That language is so confusing. We are working on a story. Frank Prosnitz from our team is working on a story on the entire question. So I'll make sure he pulls all of the legalese.
Yes.
So people can read it more. And I hope there's some clarity that can come up here in the next 2 weeks to help people.
We all are saying the same thing.
Because I think people are going to make it's tough to. The results that come from November 8th general election might not be what people actually wanted.
That's where
there's so much confusion.
That's
people vote yes, but they actually. And it's not the yes or no part of it. It's the
what ifs. It's the what ifs.
Yeah.
And as I used to say to the students too, if you don't understand, ask questions and listen to everyone else's answer, because that might be your question. And it worked. But some will say, I wasn't listening. So we don't want that. We want everyone to listen and read and ask the questions.
Well, if people, want to listen, they can listen back to this interview. It will be available on whatsupnoop.com. They can reach out to you. They can watch other. We plan on having the yes for school, the no for school, regionalization on eventually here. But we thank you for your time and wish you the very best of luck over the next couple of weeks.
Thank you. Thank you for this opportunity.
Yes, and thank you for all you do as a volunteer on Newport School Committee.
Oh, yes. Well, thanks for the opportunity.
You are welcome.
Best wishes to you too.
All right. That is Sandra Flowers. And if you missed any portion of this interview, want to see what's on our schedule, want to catch up with other school committee interviews, visit whatsupnoop.com and you can watch them now. Thanks for watching.